Morning, fish keepers. Cam here from thefishroom.co.nz. Hope you're well. Hope everyone's happy. Happy, not be happy. It's Friday, and it's Friday of a long weekend. Let's celebrate with coffee. That, sir, is a good coffee. Right. So a couple of wee changes we've got going on and had going on. Before we get too far, John is sitting in the wing, so we'll bring him up. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very good.
You made it?
Yeah.
Good. Just move the old microphone closer to me so people don't say, I can't hear you. Okay. So we've had a couple of changes. First one is because finally I've had the internet connected here in the shop correctly or properly. We're on 4G or 5G or whatever it is. I don't know. It's all technical stuff that's beyond me. But because it's been upgraded, we can now run everything in high definition. So hopefully you can see us a lot better. Also, fingers crossed, that means a lot of the issues that I noticed in the background with the live stream itself sort of freezing and all the weird clunkiness will stop as well. I've got my fingers very significantly crossed for that. So that's cool. Because of which, we've also been able to increase a couple of destinations to where we're sending our live stream to. So there's a couple of extra destinations on Facebook. We've sent it to the local Facebook pages in Nelson. So we're now able to go to the Top of the South Fish Keepers and the Nelson fish keeping pages, which is kind of cool. Also, there's a couple other pages that the Fish Room run, like the Blackwater New Zealand page and stuff like that. So when we've got relevant guests to particular relevant topics, we'll be able to stream onto those pages as well, which is quite exciting.
Yeah.
So that's where that's at. So we'd like to say hello to anybody who is joining us for the first time from the new destination. So I hope you enjoy what we're doing here. And we'll go from there.
Mm-hmm. Must admit, with the higher resolution, you look much clearer from where I'm sitting anyway, like what I see you. You look much clearer.
Cool. So that's a good start. So it's something that has frustrated me quite a bit, sort of watching the replays.
I don't know if it is a better.
I'm going to put you in the same group as Cam and Ryan. He's always picking on me.
No, not at all. I like the new haircut though.
So this week's topic, we're a little bit vague on between John and myself. We couldn't really agree with it. So I thought what we might do instead is throw out 3 possible topics, and everyone that's watching can kind of say, hey, actually, let's talk about that, as opposed to us coming through and saying, let's talk about this. So the 3 topics we've got written down is fish food, which is a fairly broad one, methods of moving aquariums, in particular when they've already been set up and you've got to move house, or maybe have to move them inside your house, that sort of thing, which is quite a big topic, and a lot of people have to do that. And the other one I've got down here is selecting stock in your aquarium, and by that I mean how you build up the aquarium, different layers of fish, what fish will kind of work together and that sort of thing, and the methodology behind working through how to get your aquarium nice and harmonious. So those are the 3 that we're thinking about. So if there's anything in particular people want us to talk about, just let us know in the comments, and whatever one has sort of the most thought behind, or most people wanting to talk about it, we'll get onto that one once we've finished the admin through the main part of everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Good idea.
Cool. So I have got decent amount of stuff to talk about today, which is kind of unusual from the last recent times. So let's crack into that. First and foremost, it is a long weekend this weekend here in New Zealand. So we are open tomorrow 10 till 3, but we are closed on Monday because that's King's birthday holiday weekend, King's birthday celebration, whatever it happens to be. So this Monday we are closed, but then back to normal on Tuesday. So that will mean that plant orders and stuff like that will be delayed by a day, because all of the wholesalers, couriers, and everything like that are closed as well. So we'll have to have a wee delay on the plant orders. But other than that, everything will be business like usual as of for next week anyway. But just bear that in mind. We're closed on Monday because we're closed public holidays, and so all of the wholesalers and the couriers and things like that. So there was a slight delay on getting things like plants and frozen foods and live fish out. So yeah. So that's that one. I can't remember where my little thingy was. The other thing is, this is me publicly saying I'm going to be held accountable. I bought my sawhorses in from home to fix the aquarium that's meant to be going somewhere in here. I want that to be cleaned and glued and put together by the end of June. So I'm publicly saying that if I haven't got it done by the end of June, there's at least 10 people here watching that can hold me accountable. And if I don't have it done by June, I'm going to have to do something ridiculously stupid like, I don't know, I haven't done it properly sale and, I don't know, put a stupid amount of discount on or something like that. So please hold me accountable. The month of June, we have to get this aquarium all cleaned up and all fixed up. So, yeah. That's
just remind everybody of what your stocking list is going to be for that tank.
That one I'm looking at putting clown notches into. Yeah, so it's 2.5 meters by 600 by 500, so it's quite sort of short and stout. So it'll be pretty good for clown loaches. I don't know anything more other than the clown loaches. That's what it's going to be based on. I'm unlikely to put too much more in there. Maybe another sort of higher swimming species to go with them, just to use them as sort of dither fish. But I'm not too sure just yet. Not going to have a big dirty pleco in there.
Nah.
No, you've frozen on me.
You've frozen on me.
So yeah, that's the main thing. It'll possibly be a black water tank. A lot of wood, probably Java fern species for plants. But yeah, I'm not too sure on what mid to top dwelling fish will go with it, but that's where I'm looking at the moment. And I might even just completely have it clown loaches and nothing else, just to showcase that particular fish. But we'll see how we go. Yeah.
Clown loaches are, when done right, clown loaches are really, really good.
I agree. Yeah. I think I've got close to 15 of them just hanging around at the shop in various tanks at the moment. So I'm sort of this big through to about that big. So some decent size ones. I'd like to get a decent group of them in there and grow some from small to big and just sort of show people how big they can get and how nice they are when they're in a big tank by themselves and you know the conditions are set more for them than anything else. So yeah, I haven't set up the tank and sing us a song at the end of June. Oh, that there sounds far worse than having to do a sale. We'll consider that one, having to sing a song. All right, we'll put that down as accountability. Sing a song. Yeah, so that's where that's at. That's always a fun time, but hopefully we get that together. Hopefully I find some time to clean it all up and glue it all in. So
make got sure when you are cleaning it up, make sure you share as much of it with everybody on the page, so that people can see what's involved in repairing a tank this size.
Yeah, I'll try and take some photos or possible video on the way through, but yeah, that's a good idea. So, yeah, that's what we'll go with that. For those that are following us on TikTok, we've been growing out some guppies that we're due to sell in a couple of weeks. So there's some really nice sunset guppies, some kois, and some leopard tails. So these are the ones that we've spawned out the back here. So they've all come out pure. They've all come out true. No defects. I'm checking regularly. Haven't seen any defects. So when they first got put into the other tanks, they were quite small and they weren't quite ready for sale. They were sexable and beginning to show a bit of colour. But the plan was to have them ready for sale within 3 weeks. So this is week 2. So there'll be another week from here. I think we should be able to get them to that point. We'll do another update video tomorrow. Fingers crossed another week we'll have a bit of size put on them, but they're definitely growing really nicely and there's some colours are coming through them, which is nice. So hopefully another week they're all right. maybe another week after that, but I'm swaying towards hopefully this week. This week coming up, we should be good with him. So if you're in the market, some very, very nice guppies. We've got some coming through, and I'm really, really happy with how they're looking and how pretty they are. So if you want to see them, jump onto our TikTok, which is just the Fishery NZ, like everything else, and you can see what they look like and how they're coming through. So I'm really happy with them. Like I really like them. In particular, I think the sunset's absolutely stunning. So fingers crossed, there's some people that are looking for some nice guppies and get your fill with them.
Yeah, I'm loving guppies just now.
My internet is still doing the weird barry thing. Is anyone noticing any issues, or is that still going through okay?
Yeah, you're a little bit blurry, but audio-wise is perfect.
Okay, cool. Maybe the internet's not quite as amazing as I thought.
How is your computer connected? Are you using a wired connection? Sometimes
no, it's wireless. The modem is almost at the front door in the shop, and I'm sort of out the back and everything. So I have to sort of run it this way. I'll once we get off this, I will speak to the company that I use and see if we can improve it a little bit more. We'll see how we go. So ideally, it doesn't stall and it doesn't get flickery because that's frustrating as heck. Frustrating for me as presenting, but also frustrating for people that are watching. So if it could not do that, that would be great. And if that means we might have to buy an internet expander or something like that, because it might be just because it's slightly further away that it's causing it. But we'll see what we can
just buy a network cable, Cat 6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I'll work it out. I was hoping that having the proper connection would just solve everything, but it may not have. But we'll see how we go from there. So we've had a few comments from the chats regarding possible stocking. Are you possibly writing about the possible topic? Are you jolting them down so we have a bit of an idea, or should I be doing that? Yeah, cool.
No, I've got
that. Sweet, cool. So next week, our guest, we have Scott Fellman on, and he is the owner of Tannin Aquatics. So for those that don't know, Tannin Aquatics, as I'm sure you might be able to realise, is pretty heavy into the blackwater side of things and the biotoping side of things. He's got an absolutely phenomenal blog that's on their website. Just an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to blackwater aquariums. They also have a podcast. I'm not sure if they're still doing the podcast, but they were doing a podcast, which was really good. I don't know how many hours spent listening to his podcast when I was working prior to doing this. I'm really, really excited to speak to him. I honestly believe he is part of the reason I'm so deep into blackwater, just from listening to his concepts and his ideas and everything like that. So I'm really, really looking forward to this conversation next week with him. So just waiting for him to confirm that he's still good to go. So we were penciled in a few weeks back. So once we've got that confirmed, we'll be posting that and being pretty excited about it. So I'm really looking forward to speaking to Scott. It's going to be a really good time. It's up there with one of the happy times. I can't quite get the right words that I want to say out, but
I'm really looking forward to it as well. I've spoken to Scott a couple of times, but nothing in depth. But every time, it's almost like the way he puts across the information.
Like everyone's having internet issues at the moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes. It's really digestible. I think you're having internet issues now. By the feel, you might be cutting off a little bit. His information that he puts out is really, really digestible, and it's really easy to take on board and understand the concepts that he's talking about, which is fantastic. So, I'm really looking forward to speaking to him next week. So, fingers crossed that does its thing. And John's just popped off, and he's popped back on again. So we can just continue through. There we go. So we've got some new fish that are being released this week, which I'm pretty excited about. We've got some more cherry barbs that have come through. some of the reddest males that I've seen in a very long time with fish that have come in. So that's really exciting. I'm really happy with that. We've got some more Venezuelan orange corridoras come through. We've got about 30 of them about to come out. So that's cool. We've been short of corridors for a little while. So we've got a few more of them pushing through. We've got a whole lot of assorted platies that have come through. There's some very nice blue corals in there, some really nice blue on the blue coral. Sometimes the blue corals come in looking a little bit grey, I suppose is the best way of putting it. But these have got that really nice sky blue to them, which I'm quite excited about. So there's about 10 or so of them are ready to rock and roll. And the pick of the bunch for me of the fish that's coming through is the leer-tail swordtails. They're really, really big. The tails and the hyphen as well, they're just really high flying. I think they're phenomenal. They're a really nice solid orange color, which is really nice. So I think by far they are the pick of the fish that are coming through. Hopefully I get them all out this afternoon ready for the weekend. But yeah, they're absolutely my favourites at the moment for what's coming through. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're a great size.
How big are they at the moment?
What's that, sorry?
How big are they at the moment?
About that big?
Yeah.
So they're a proper size. The people that have come in and seen the koi swordtails, they're a little bit bigger than that, and those koi swords were stunning as well. So yeah. So we've had just a few questions. We can just rock through here. Let's go back.
Rochelle had a good question.
About the albino cherry bugs?
No, another one before that. Deal with that one first, and I'll bring the next one up. Okay.
To answer that question, no, I have not. Supply lists come out this week, today, sorry. So I've cleared all the tanks out the back, ready for some fish. So fingers crossed. They've still got some, and I'll get a wee group of them because I've seen the videos that Cam posted, and I think they look really good on video. So I can only envision that they look just as good in person. So if there's still some available, I'll grab a wee small group of them because I think they're looking really nice. Oh, sorry, hands off. You do it.
Yeah.
Cool.
There we go. Do you think there's a pecking order?
There's a pecking order with 100%. Absolutely. It's more obvious in some species of fish like African cichlid tanks and like Tropheus tanks, things like that. But there absolutely is a pecking order. You can see it with tetras and stuff like that as well. There's always a dominant male that's herding up the group. Some tetras are more obvious than others, like the blue emperor tetras are really obvious, the dominant male herding everything else up. But yeah, absolutely, there's a pecking order within a fish tank.
Do you think the pecking order overspills? Is it interspecies or is it just within species groups?
Yeah, I do, particularly when we've got them in a small system. I think there's always going to be a dominant fish in a tank. There's always going to be the fish that takes the lion's share of the food and wants to control the party. Yeah. I think as a probably generalization, most fish are more controlling into their own species. But when they're in a community-based tank, I do think there is one that's trying to look after, control the whole system. So yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Good morning, Helen. And I haven't said good morning to Todd and Kim. Whoa, my phone's ringing. I'll just turn that off for now. Yeah, all right. So we can go from there. And Todd asked something along the lines of silicon. Yeah, it does matter which silicon you use. Natural cure is what you're after. You want one without mold inhibitors and that sort of stuff. So it needs to be a natural curing silicon. They come in both black and clear, so that choice is entirely on you. I like black for some things and clear for other things, so that's on you. But it definitely does matter what sort of silicon you get. There's only 2 or 3 different varieties in New Zealand, like you can get from the hardware shops. I don't have one close to me, otherwise I would show you some, but I do have a container of some open out the back. But you've got to make sure you get silicon without a mold inhibitor, and look at the back of it. They normally say natural clear or and safe for aquariums. So 100% does matter. So, there's that one. John has been working very, very hard on a blog over the last sort of 10 days or so. So if you would like to talk about that, John, you can have the floor and talk about this magical blog you've been working on.
It's basically, we're looking at the importance of testing and maintaining the correct parameters of KH, GH, and pH. Within the blog, we break down the importance of each one, what happens when a fish that requires a higher level of one of them receives lower level and vice versa. We've given some, gave some descriptions of soft water and hard water aquariums and what kind of fish live in those type of environments. We've suggested different ways of naturally buffering the aquarium water using wood or a substrate to do that. And it's really long. It's got a lot of information in it. So it's one for grabbing a coffee, sitting down and enjoying it.
Yeah, cool. So I've read it a couple of times for proofreading and making sure everyone's happy and stuff like that. So it is fairly long, but it's very much very precise, and it is a very good bit of reading and worth just sitting down in a quiet spot and having a wee look at that. So it's a really good body of work. We'll release that this afternoon once we just put the last couple of polishing touches on it. It's pretty much there to go. So this afternoon, early afternoon, will be good to go with that. So well and truly worth having a wee look at. It's a really good read if you're a little bit unsure about how they will affect each other. It's definitely worth having a wee look. This week was meant to be podcast week. I'm still having significant issues with my editing software. Turns out the podcast we released last week, which was the one with Rebecca, came out with totally nothing, no noise, no sounds whatsoever. So that's really frustrating, and I only realized that because I was finishing editing this week's one, and I went to upload it, and I sort of pushed play to make sure everything was working, which I don't normally do, and nothing came up. So I just double checked the last one; it was the same. So that is really frustrating, and I'm really sorry. I'd like to be getting back to that podcast or the re-release of our coffee dates when we've got a guest. But at the moment, it's just not working. So I'm going to have to find a new editing software to make that work, which is really, really frustrating. So I apologize for that. But fingers crossed, we can have that sorted by next week. We'll get Rebecca's ones back up and Chris's one up, ready to rock and roll. So, it's frustrating as heck for me. And, I'm sorry about that. If you're in Nelson, I've got a whole bunch of marine gear that I'd like to move on. When I say a whole bunch, I think I've got about 50-odd tubes sitting beside me of blue marine tubes, T8s and T5s. I know they're kind of outdated, but I'm also aware there's probably people that are still using them. There's brand new skimmers, test kits, salts, nutrients, all that kind of stuff. So about 3 or 4 full shopping bags, and I mean like really full shopping bags full, plus all the tubes. So if you're in Nelson and are interested, please feel free to knock on the door or come on in and have a look at it. I'm looking for $300 for all of it, so it's a heck of a good buy. Even if you bought it, got the stuff that you wanted out of it, and sold everything else on for $5 each, you'd still make your money back and then a heck of a lot more. It's just annoying me sitting out the back, and I have no interest in carrying the marine stuff. So if anyone is interested in that, it's here. The sooner it goes, the happier I will be. And no, I don't have any big buckets of marine salt. I buy them in as I need them for brine shrimp, but that's about the only thing I really use it for. So, looking at getting completely out of marine altogether. So this is all sort of leftover stuff. So, would like to move that on as soon as possible, please. One more thing that we have, which is exciting. We've got some new products in this week. Actually turned up about 5 minutes before we went live, so I was really excited about it. We've got NLS, so we've got a few in the NLS range. In my opinion, NLS is predominantly designed for African cichlids. I think that is its flagship product. I do not think there is anything better for feeding African cichlids than New Life Spectrum. It's right up there. It is one of the, if not the best product available for feeding African cichlids. So we've got a little bit of the New Life Spectrum. We've got African cichlid food. We've got algae wafers, which I quite like as well, and we've got a couple others, but not the entire range. I was quite selective in what I picked from previous knowledge on sales as well as previous use of it. I sort of picked the stuff that I think is the most logical to have, and so that's where that is. We've also got Sarah Insect back in again, which again I'm really excited about. Probably my favorite general crumble of fish food around. Every single fish that I've fed it to takes it incredibly well. Like first time round, it's soft enough to break up in your fingers or chuck in a pepper grinder if it's slightly too big. It's massively insect based. It's in that sort of top echelon for me as far as foods go. So I'm pretty stoked to have that back again. And the other thing that I've got, which I'm trialing on, is small New Life Spectrum. It's the Domex. So it's similar concept to the Rapashi. We tried the tropical gel food a few weeks back. Wasn't overly impressed with that, so we probably won't be taking that one on. So we're just going to see how this is. Ingredients wise, it's pretty impressive. Like most of the New Life Spectrum, it's up there. So we'll just see how it mixes, see how the fish take it. Price comparison compared to the Rapashi and stuff like that. So we'll just see how that goes. But that might be another option that we take on. So I'll let you know how that goes. I've got all three of the varieties of it. So I'll try them all before we make a decision to whether we stock or not. So I'm looking forward to giving that one a nudge. So that's what we've got there. So it's good times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's all I've got in my book. So we can now talk about our topic if we want to.
Yeah, I think the best topic, judging by what was going on in the chat, is the absolute stress ball of moving house when you've got aquariums.
Okay, cool. We can do that.
Yeah.
No issue there whatsoever. Easy as. So if people are moving houses, and I'll just write a few notes as I'm going. So if you're moving house and you've got access to the house that you're moving into before you have to move out, I always encourage doing your fish tank first. So get that in place before moving day if that's available. Mm-hmm. I think the added stress of moving and then moving an aquarium is just pretty intense. So I find it's a better option if you can get that done. As far as the moving of the fish goes, depending on how far you go, a chili bin with a battery air pump can be a really good option. If you're not going too far, just your standard bags and buckets normally work pretty well. So there's a really good option.
Yeah.
I find when you've got plants in an aquarium, it makes it a little bit more difficult as well because the plants don't like being pulled up. But if you leave the substrate in, it makes the aquarium quite heavy. So sometimes you just got to bite the bullet. Generally speaking, it's best not to leave the substrate in because of the extra stress on the glass and all that kind of stuff. So if you can pull the substrate out, put that into a bucket, and then obviously take your plants out and put them in a bag with it as well, that's normally your best option. As long as you're not going, traveling from one end of the country to another, your filtration is normally okay as well. It should stay moist enough and wet enough for that very short period of time with not too much issues when it comes to the bacteria dying off and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've always found, ideally, find somebody that you trust and move all your livestock to their house in a temporary aquarium for a month. That gives you time to get everything in and get your tank set up and stabilized, and then gradually start bringing them over. But you need a good friend for that. That's not easy if you don't have anyone else that keeps fish, but you can find somebody that it really helps. Even local fish shops I've used before, they've taken they've just allocated a tank through the back and held on to fish from it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So there is ways if you lean on other people, but it's difficult no matter how, and it's always nerve-wracking.
And it's risky.
Yeah.
You may be well aware you're having to move with quite a lot of time's notice. It could be worthwhile setting up a sponge filter into your aquarium or aquariums.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're moving a long distance, maybe 12 hours worth of traveling or whatever, that you can put that sponge filter into like your chili bin or whatever it is that you use to move with. So in theory, that's still keeping your cycle, keeping everything going nice and tickety-boo. I know a lot of people will do a water change partway through moving. Again, depends on how long you're going for, how heavily stocked your tank is, whether or not that you're running with a sponge filter or just an air filter that's rocking and rolling within your setup. So if you're just using air and you're traveling 12, 14, 16 hours, it probably is worthwhile doing a water change partway through. If you're onto it a bit more and have a sponge filter running, you probably wouldn't have too many issues as well. What I personally find the issues come along is once you've actually moved everything, set everything back up, because you've stirred everything up, all the substrates, all the filth and stuff has come back up into the water column. Most people experience some sort of a ammonia spike from then onwards, because filter's been off for a little while, bacteria begins to die off and all that sort of stuff. So it's not normally the moving, which is a really stressful part, but you can kind of get that going easily enough. It's the next couple of weeks once you're set up, monitoring your fish, treat it like a brand new aquarium. Really light water changes, really light feeding and relatively often water changes just to keep everything monitored. Doing your water test to make sure there's no ammonia spikes and things like that, because there will be spikes. Your plants will probably not enjoy being moved. You might find a few of them die off as well. So it's normally the weeks after the move that I find to be the worst things, not the actual on the day of the move. Although that is physically stressful, it's the next part of it that becomes the issue.
I know, and what makes it even worse is generally 2-3 weeks, the first 2-3 weeks or even month in a new house, you're extremely busy with the new house. So you've not got as much time you would normally have to dedicate to maintenance on your aquarium. So if you're ever going to neglect a tank, unwillingly, it's going to be at that kind of time, unfortunately, because you're so overwhelmed with everything else.
Yeah.
So it's really, planning ahead is vital, no matter what you do. And kind of looking for any potential pitfalls or any problems that you might come up against and kind of planning for them in advance. So
also take into account that potentially the fish will be under completely new water conditions as well. Especially if you move from one city to another city, the water conditions from there to another is generally going to be totally different. But from town into town, generally they'll be pretty similar. But if you're going from one city to another, the water conditions are going to be totally different. So I think that's something to be taken into account. So your fish are having to get used to new water conditions at the same time, as well as the stress of moving, which I personally don't think we put enough emphasis on stress and fish with the move or with moving of any description. I think it's a lot more stressful than what we kind of take into account, I think, to be totally fair. Yeah.
This is quite a valid point here from Rebecca as well. I'll just pop that up. Polyboxes are something that you can normally get from your local fish shop as well. I don't know if it's the same for you over there, but my local fish shop, Riverside, they're always giving away polyboxes for this exact reason and for fish shows and stuff. They're really good.
Yeah, as a general rule, fish shops get their fish in big boxes, and there's only so many big orders of fish that need a big box. So most of us end up just stacking them, and at some point go, got rid of this pile of polyboxes and either get given away, or like I've got a polystyrene recycling bag out the back, broken up into that. So big boxes end up being a bit of a pain for quite often. So and polyboxes work well, or chili bins. I'm not sure what you guys call them over there. the plastic lined things that you use to keep your drinks cold or your barbecue warm sort of scenario.
A beer cooler.
Yeah. They work really well. Most people have some of them hanging around, and once you've used them for fish, that's a good excuse to buy some new ones for your own personal use.
Yeah.
I know I've got a couple of them around that are exclusively for fish moving and stuff like that. So they work pretty well. They hold a decent body of water as well, which means your parameters swing a little bit less for that sort of move, especially if you're using a sponge filter on the way.
Yeah.
I know that Aqua One produce battery ear pumps that you can use for traveling and stuff like that, as well as they used to do cigarette lighter ones. I don't know if cigarette lighters are still in cars. But they do.
Well, most of them have still got them.
Yeah.
Or they're converted to USB, but they do. Yeah. They do still have them.
Yeah. So those. For me, it's about not so much keeping the fish warm, although that is a contributor, but it's about making sure the right amount of air is getting in there to keep the fish content, and preferably keeping that cycle going if you can. Prior to moving, in the weeks coming up, I tend to try and lightly feed as much as possible and do as many water changes as possible.
Yeah.
Clean out the filter within about a month before going. This is so everything's minimized. There's minimal chance of spikes. There's minimal chance of high nitrates and all that sort of stuff that's going on. And I like to start early and get the filter cleans done early, so there's less chance of having an issue closer to moving day. If you clean out your filter and you have a wee spike because you'll disturb too much bacteria, then that's sort of counted and done before moving day, as opposed to this is happening during moving day and everything goes downhill real quickly. So
I noticed Cam said that he does it as a service through his shop, and I'm just wondering if you can bring it up in the comments. Does he sometimes bring fish into store and kind of keep them there as a temporary hold until he sets up the new aquarium for them, or has he got a system where he can transport and set up on the same day, and just bottling up the water from the old tank and just doing it? To some extent, you can't take it all, but I know that it's something I've done before. So I've always, well, not always, I used to, when I was a young fish keeper, try and take as much of the old tank water with me, so that at least it's almost just like a water change you're doing at the new property.
And again, that depends on your tank size. You're not going to be able to take 700 litres out of 1,000 litre.
No.
I do know what you mean. Take enough with you, but like I said, it becomes just a big water change as opposed to too much more. But
There we go.
I absolutely think the key to it is there you go. What do we got? It's a different option, depends on the situation. Sometimes they come hang out in the shop for a little bit to the new spots ready. Otherwise, they go straight there. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think key to it is absolutely planning, and if you can get it done before actual move day, that is really important. Or even after move day is another option. Get everything moved on one day, and then come along the next day and do your aquarium when everything's a little less quiet. There's less people. I'm not sure about everybody else, but like anytime I've moved and there's been like 37 different people trying to help, it's always really frantic. Nobody wants to help you. They're just there because they have to be, and everyone wants to get home and get it done over and done with as quick as possible. Yeah. So like that bit's a bit frantic. So you've been able to really put that time and energy onto the aquarium. So even doing it the day after is a really good option. Yeah.
Put the family up in a hotel for a week and just spend the week setting up your tank in the new house.
Well, the thing is, with all those empty walls, it'd be a good excuse to put some more aquariums in there.
Yeah.
So build the house around your aquariums. Oops,
that's it.
Wrong one.
Build a family around your aquariums.
Okay, so Rebecca says, never take old tank water with me. More risk with the weight, and I don't see it as needed. Do you mean more risk with the weight in leaving it in the aquarium? Because that I would agree with. I hate moving aquarium with water in it. It's pretty stupid to me.
I think the only time I've seen water going with it was just an aquascape. Somebody had spent a lot of time doing an aquascape, and then reduced the water right down to the above the substrate, and then put like a plastic bag over that and then just took it. But that was only a 60 litre tank, so you could hold it safely underneath that way. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Okay. So with canister filters, as long as the media stays wet, generally speaking, it's going to be okay. As long as you're not traveling like, I don't know, 7 days or something stupid like that. If it's a move across town or a few hours, generally you'll be absolutely fine. There'll possibly be a small spike in ammonia at some point because of the oxygen that's not going into it. Sumps are a little bit different because that is a totally different kettle of fish altogether. Moving a tank with a sump, I always try and give myself as much time as possible. You have to unplumb everything, and then when you get there, setting it all back up, plumbing it all up, checking for leaks and all that kind of stuff. So that's a different, same conversation, but a totally different element, if that makes sense. Yeah, and obviously a second tank takes more room. The media, as long as it stays wet, should be okay. Like John said, you can put like a plastic bag or something over it, keep the moisture in there. A lot of bacteria will handle it as long as it stays wet.
You can bag the media. Just like
you can do that. Yeah, you could possibly get it to your next place, put that in, add a little bit of water to it, put an air stone through it just to keep it moving around as well. But yeah, the idea of moving the two tanks for the one tank is totally different with all the plumbing that has to be pulled apart.
I think for me, if I had a big tank with a sump, it would be a full restart one way or another. I think it would be too stressful for me, given the livestock, and then you've got such a big filter underneath there. For me, I would prefer a full restart somehow. But, any excuse to escape.
Yep, can be a lot trickier. And then, of course, you take into account if you've got more than one or two aquariums, that changes things altogether as well. That's If you're getting multiple tanks, I'd definitely try and do it prior to the move or after the main move of your house in that kind of scenario. So moving across a room, for example, is a little bit easier. Into buckets, move it around, and away you go. So for me, I treat it like fish in a bag, but less water. Yeah, tube something straight out. Yeah. Again, as long as it stays sort of damp and wet, generally it's okay. It's when they dry out that's when the bacteria obviously dies off.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember the bacteria it relies on a lot of oxygen as well. That's why it colonizes in filters, because there's high oxygen flow coming through there. So it's not indefinite, the length of time it can stay. It's still time sensitive for sure.
Yeah, in theory, in the car with everything moving, there'll be enough oxygen swishing around, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue in an open system like a bag of media or something like that. Maybe a little bit different in the closed system, like a canister. But yeah, an open system like that, this sort of thing should be okay. Yeah, that's a good option. Putting a hang on back on the tank while you move the sump. Yeah. There's most fish keepers have got bits and pieces hanging around that can help with that sort of thing. Being prepared, I think, is the biggest key, and it is absolutely stressful, but it is definitely achievable as long as you just take a breath and go from there.
Yeah, definitely.
Stress guard and stability. Yeah, so this is one of the times where I actually think stability works really well, or cycle, or whatever other bacteria products you've got, is when you are moving things around, playing with filters, all that sort of stuff. When you are knocking out bacteria, it's where I think this sort of product works really ridiculously well. Not so much when actually cycling your tanks, but definitely when you're playing around with stuff and giving everything that extra boost. I think in this sort of scenario, stability, cycle, or what have you, works fairly well. And stress guard, I haven't done enough playing around with it myself to have an opinion on that. I do know plenty of people that absolutely love it. There's some fairly large breeders around the world that swear by stress guard or stress coats and similar type things. Like I said, I haven't used it myself enough to have an opinion on that. I know a lot of people use it for when packaging fish as well. Again, I haven't done that, so I'm not entirely sure when it comes to that myself. But yeah, I can't totally answer that one. Sorry. And Cameron, I'm ignoring your comments just because I can. That's a conversation that we've had for over and over again, and we go round and round in circles. So we can leave it with that. Yeah, I do agree. I don't really like internal filters personally myself. I think internal filters are a bit of a pain. But I definitely think canister filters are easy enough to move. You turn them off, you turn the taps off, you unscrew them, you pick them up, you put them in the next place. Repeat the process in reverse, and you're done. So yeah. Yeah, we can talk about power outages. It's pretty similar. So not quite the same as moving. Say you have a power outage or a planned power outage. How can one prepare for that? My tanks all did well, and the temp didn't even drop. So again, depending on how long the power outage is for and how much notice you've got, I would work at the same. Say you get told in a month's time, I'd be lowering the feeding for the first couple of weeks coming into it. I would be doing extra water changes for the weeks coming into it, knowing, say, on the 5th, the power's going out for 12 hours. The 3rd and the 4th, I would do a water change on the 3rd and the 4th. And I probably wouldn't feed to make sure all things like nitrates and stuff like that are down. If it's going to be a really long one, I'd try and find a backup generator to try and get my canister filter or my filter itself running again. If it's not a long period of time, I wouldn't worry too much about that. Once it goes back on, again, I'd be mindful of potential spikes in ammonia, nitrites, and that sort of thing after the fact. So I'd be low on the feeding and high on the water changes again, just to make sure things are doing their thing. Potentially use, again, your filter media has had a bit of a crash and a chunk through it. Potentially use stability cycles, that sort of scenario thing, just to try and bulk those bacteria back up. And that's where I would work with that. If you're worried about the temperature, a blanket over the aquarium can work pretty well. Your hot water cylinder will hold warm water for quite some period of time. So if you're again worried about that, you can put some water out of the hot tap. It's not a practice I particularly like, using hot water, because I've always thought that coming out of the hot water cylinder is full of extra heavy metals and stuff like that. So a smaller dose of prime, because it will take away the oxygen that's left in the aquarium. But that can help for any of the heavy metals coming out of that, just if you're worried about warming up the tank again. So that's where I go with that. Swishing the water around a bit to continue the oxygen exchange is another really good option. Someone's mentioned about a USB air pumps. That's a good option. Portable phone chargers, as said there. Also fantastic options. So again, if it's all of a sudden one, it's a little bit hard to be prepared. But if you've got them, they're coming up. You can be prepared by lightly feeding, putting everything in place to have everything under control.
I think there's something I've seen advertised that's aimed at people that go camping, but they're like a generator, but it's solar batteries. And they're really, really, they're pricey. But if you've got a fish room, for example, or even maybe 2 or 3, or even 1 aquarium, if you can get something like that, you can generate power for about 12 hours off these batteries. And they charge themselves in the sun, and they've got USB, they've got proper AC sockets, everything.
The concept of being pricey is quite an interesting one. Like, I don't know how much they cost because I've never seen what you're talking about, but this is a pretty good option. I might have a look at it, but like, say that costs you $1,000. How many thousands of dollars worth of fish do people have in their tanks? Like, just a little bit of peace of mind for just in case. And there's definitely places that have more power outages than others, but there's plenty of people that have got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fish in their aquariums at home. What's another $1,000 on buying just in case, bit of backup, just a peace of mind sort of thing. So
well, they price about £300.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, that's not a huge chunk of change for a bit of peace of mind for just in case.
Yeah, but if you've got maybe half a dozen discus, there's your money right there.
Yeah. It's absolutely something that I have thought about, and it's absolutely something that I have not actioned yet. So go me.
Yeah.
It's probably worthwhile anyone with a fish room having that sort of thing going on. I wouldn't have thought the heat will be the issue in a fish room. Most fish rooms are pretty warm, so that's not likely to be the problem. It is probably going to be the air and potential after the fact spikes from filters that are lost a bit of bacteria and things like that. So
car batteries as well.
Yeah. I wouldn't be anywhere near smart enough how to work that out, but there's definitely people out there that would know how to do that. Yeah.
That wouldn't be too difficult, to be honest.
You say that like I know the difference between the positive and the negative terminal.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying I've not electrocuted myself a few times back in car battery days, but it's not that difficult. But yes, so there is options out there if you're worried about the potential hazard of power cut. So again, planning ahead.
Yeah, I was speaking to someone who came to the shop maybe a month ago. He lives down the Marlborough Sounds, and so they have a lot of on and off power. And didn't have a fish tank, but he was looking at getting a fish tank. And he was worried about the power going on and off on a regular basis, and basically said to him, like, if your power is going on and off so regularly, you're going to have an inverter or a generator or whatever the words are to run your fridge and stuff like that, because that's, your food source and your milk and all that kind of stuff. So as long as your aquarium isn't ginormous, because he was only looking at like a 2-foot tank, and your pumps and stuff aren't too big, you could just, when your generator's going, because you're in a power cut, just make sure your filter's plugged in, and then life is good. Like, I think a lot of people worry about the heat during moving and during power cuts. I don't so much think it is the heat that's the issue. I think more it's the oxygen exchange and the oxygen in the water and the filtration issues afterwards that are the concern. Like, fish can tolerate a decent swing of heat, specifically or in particular if it's one that just gradually happens. Like if they've gone from 27 degrees and you do a massive cold water change and it shocks them to 12, well, that's a little bit different. But if it's sitting at 25 and over the course of 24 hours it then slowly but surely drops to 17, 18, then they can handle that slower.
Yeah, that slow and steady.
Yeah.
So have you ever had any problems with power cuts, like personally?
No, we've had power cuts. That's just the UPS systems feed computers. Yeah, even if it's just short bursts for 10 minutes running the filtration or what have you, that's another good option as well. No, I haven't. We've obviously been through power cuts and things like that. Had earthquakes and had wear shoes and powers have gone off and all that kind of thing. Was getting a generator of some sort was in my mind not long ago, because something's in my mind that we had a power cut for quite a long time a little while ago. And I was like, I probably should do something for the shop, but I never got around to it. But it's always just been I'm more worried about oxygen exchange and filtration after the fact than what I have been to do with the warmth or anything like that. So we don't have a lot of power cuts here, which is nice. It's generally speaking pretty good.
Same here. We're good that way.
Yeah. Coming into the time of the year when they are more prominent. We're coming into winter, obviously, and that's when things like this happen more often. A lot of construction work and all that kind of scenario. So But so I think that pretty much covers the moving aquariums and sort of streamed off to power cups, which are both very similar.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you can just if you're aware of what's going to happen, you can foreplan it. I think that's the option there. Lightly feed, water changing, USB or battery powered air pumps for traveling. If you can pre-seed a sponge filter, that's a really good scenario as well. And then monitor after the fact. Because you're likely to have some sort of issues. You've broken down your ecosystem and everything's got to fall back into place essentially. So that's how I would treat it, and that's how I do treat it. We've all moved aquariums, and something's happened a couple of weeks later on. The fish have begun gasping for air and all that sort of stuff. So it's just a bit of forward planning on that. Normally gets where you need to go. So yeah.
Is there a shopping list of things that people should have before moving house?
Definitely like a chili bin or something along those lines are a good option. I think a sponge filter if you can, and a battery ear pump, depending on how many fish and how long the travel is going to be.
Yeah.
And they're the main sort of things I think are probably important. And time, just time and planning I think is the main one. Pre-moving or after moving is a far better option than moving it on the day, in my experience and in my mind. So it's not you don't need too much. Just simple things and away you go.
Yeah, I mean nobody moves house super quick either. It's not generally the way it goes. Is you do know you're expecting it, so planning should always be quite possible. Obviously, there's circumstances out with people's control, but in general, you're going to know you're moving, so start planning as early as possible.
Yeah. So this topic is actually a topic that I had on my list of blogs to write.
I've just noted that down as well. So
so it's kind of cool that we're talking about it because it's on my list of things. It's something that I see come up on various Facebook pages quite regularly. So I was going to do a wee in-depth write-up about that. So hopefully over the next few weeks we can get that out as well. We'll possibly have to link back onto this video for a bit more conversation as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you for the people that wanted us to talk about this. Chili bin. Next he's going to call a sweater a woolly shirt. Well, what else are you going to call it? Like, it's not an esky because I'm not Australian. It's a chili bin. That's what they are. They're a chili bin.
Is that those things that's like a plastic rectangular bucket and you can pour water in and freeze it so it stays cold? It's like a thermal box almost.
Yeah. Pour your bag of ice in there when you go to a barbecue and put your beers or your sodas or whatever in there or chuck your meat on top so everything stays cold.
Yeah, we just call them chill boxes or cool boxes.
Yeah, they're called eskies in Australia.
They're called what?
Esky.
Esky.
Like, I'm pretty sure that it's come from the word Eskimo, is my assumption.
Ah, right, okay. Like an igloo.
Igloo, yep.
Yeah.
So that's my assumption where the words come from. But over here we call them chili bins. I don't know them as anything else, so I'm going to stick with chili bins. So that's what we've got. So it's a good time unless there's other stuff that people want to talk about.
Other than chili bins?
What's that, sorry?
Other than chili bins?
Other than chili bins, yeah. I quite like the idea or the concept of having a couple of topics to talk about and then having the people say, let's talk about that. I think it works quite nicely. And there's no point of us bringing up a topic that we want to talk about if everyone watching doesn't really want to listen to it. So I think that's cool. We might
also as well, on the weeks that we've not got scheduled guests, we could more than happily bring somebody else in, like somebody from the chat. If somebody feels they want to join us and show off their tank, it's easy enough for us to send an invite mid-stream and we can bring you in on the chat. If we're always open, like for nights like this where we've not actually got a guest on. We can keep it informal and just kind of jump in and out. Or if you've got videos that you want to show us, we can bring them up on screen and things. So
absolutely. I know we've done that before with Cam. Had him randomly pop up and talk. So absolutely, if there's people want to jump on and talk fish and aquariums with us, we're more than happy to do that.
Absolutely.
So for a bit of fun, bit of dynamics.
Yeah.
Brian says, Esky is a trade name that has come to mean all chili bins in Australia. So that must be similar to like sellotape, which is sticky tape and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a trade name. I thought that was just their common slang that they use to refer to what a chili bin is. Interesting. Yeah. Look at that. Learning all the time. So yeah, okay. Well, if that be it, we'll call it quits and say thank you very much. So I hope the people that have joined us from different destinations that haven't been on here with us before have enjoyed it. We'll be definitely streaming out to different places as we see fit, and to ones that are more suitable and things like that. Like I said, next week we've got scalp filming coming on, which I'm excited about. So we'll be streaming that onto the Blackwater page because absolutely relative to what he is.
If anyone's got any questions as well related to Blackwater aquariums or Biotope, get in touch, send them to the shop, or just anywhere. Just we'll ask them. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
Yep. Same as if there's any guests you want us to try and contact to get on, more than happy to give that a go. Just send us a message and we can begin that conversation with the people that you guys want to talk to and hear their stories and that kind of stuff. So I'm more than happy to do that.
So what we could do afterwards, if everybody can share this live stream on their social media, I think that'd be a good way of getting more people involved as well. Just takes a second to share the link to the stream.
Yeah, we've got Aqua House lined up. I'm 99% sure that I've got a date lined up for them. I'd have to check my calendar, but I'm 99% sure we've got a date lined up. We're just trying to work on the topic that we wanted to talk about with them on it. Obviously, aquascaping was an option.
Absolutely, because they've got the studio now. So
yep, the tissue culture plants that they're dealing with and all the products that they're bringing in is another one. So yeah, I'm 99% sure that we have locked in a date with Aqua House with Remy. So yeah, thank you for that, and we'll just trying to cement what the topic's going to be. So yeah.
Oh, hold on.
There you go. You got some notes to write down.
Yeah. I've just popped this up just now. I may as well briefly talk about it.
Yep.
Right.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless you're importing them directly yourself, you've got to, kind of hope that they've come through the proper channels and they're properly labelled in the shop so that you know what you're dealing with when you get it.
Yeah. Is Discord the same as Twitch Concept Gaming? Because we now have an option to stream on Twitch, which I don't really know what that is, but I've heard the word Twitch and I've heard the word Discord before. Are they the same thing or are they different?
They are different.
Okay.
Both equally as confusing. But
okay.
Yeah, no.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh.
I have a Discord, actually. I do have a Discord account. So maybe we can kind of start sharing the link.
Is that the thing that's like a old chat board type thing, but like modern day one? Is that what that one is?
I'll show you.
Okay.
Maybe.
Sorry, we're going a little bit off topic, but that's okay.
It looks like an old forum.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so yeah. I don't use it.
It's all kind of like this and
yeah.
Don't know.
If there's enough desire for us to have a Discord, then we might set one up. Same with a Twitch. Look at me sounding really old, saying things like a Twitch and a Discord.
I know the Discord.
Yeah.
I always laugh because my son, he's big in Discord. He loves it, and it always reminds me of one of the characters in My Little Pony. There's a character called Discord, and I always used to think he was talking about that.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
How old's your son?
My son.
Yeah.
He's nearly 18 now.
Okay, so maybe if I ask my kids what Discord is and to help me set it up, it might be easy to do.
Yeah. Your son's a little bit younger than that, though, is he not?
Yeah, but my daughters, they're both teenagers.
Okay, yeah.
So that might be the option for me. So if there's enough people that want us to get a Discord, then we will look into doing that. And same with the Twitch thing. Not that I really know what they are, just because there's options available and I like options. So yeah.
I know that thing could be a live stream on its own, just teaching everybody how to use Discord.
Yeah. Cool. All right, then we'll go. I've got things to do and blogs to write, and I've got to return these couple of phone calls that I missed. So we'll go from there. NLS should be on the website hopefully by the end of the day, and all the Sarah products will be back up and running as well. So yeah, good times for that.
Okay, well, have a good weekend.
Cool. Thanks for joining us. Everybody. Enjoy your long weekend.
Yeah.